I know, I know. Did anyone respond? Oh. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Prize Picks. Dave Loughran with Adam Scherer. I ship my money DFS. I'm at Laffy_D, which, by the way, dude, did you see the news? Have you seen the news? Have you heard the news?
That Jokic isn't getting suspended?
No, but I mean, God, if that is the antithesis of MVP behavior, if that isn't then I don't know what is. I mean, now it all makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he should have just gone full out and kicked him in the balls, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or stomped his head. Right. Which, by the way, he came up to Grant Williams after that, and Grant's like, "No, dude, it wasn't your fault." I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, that was just like a fault. But I was hoping when I tweeted that to you today that some people would take the bait, because obviously you knew what I was doing.
Yeah, yeah.
But then there's always those weasels that just don't understand sarcasm on Twitter. No, nobody bit. You want to hear the big news?
Yeah, what's that?
So Elon Musk is purging all inactive Twitter accounts.
Oh, I did see this. Yeah.
Which, by the way,
you were the first person I thought of.
Yeah, right. He said that like 6 months ago, and I don't think he did, because I've been checking up on this.
That's weird. Normally he follows through on things right away.
Well, who knows? But I'm looking to get that elusive Laffy handle. That would be great. Dude hasn't tweeted since 2009. I went back and looked at it today. Jordan should pull it up and just pull his tweets. Pull Laffy up, Jordan, at Loughy. It's just like, Paul Loff, and then he would do the old Facebook thing. He would say is. Yeah. But he's like, is thinking I love you, baby. And just
when was that from?
Super brutal stuff. 2009, I guess. I don't know. He only tweeted like 5 times or whatever. But yeah, all of the tweets are like, is really in pain from a sore back. That type of stuff. And half of his 11 followers are people that still think it's me. And they're like, who's this dummy? Why am I following him? I'm not saying I'm the best follow to begin with, but my God, this guy, not good stuff. Scroll down, Jordan. I'm pretty sure he did one. I'm pretty sure he had. Yeah, there it is. Now, I'm pretty sure he had one that's like, is thinking keep going. I love you, babe. There it is. Paul Loff loves you, baby. Paul, or maybe it's Lowe. It might be Paul Lowe, is thinking I love Chris Moyles. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. Happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Let's get over 100 here out of the gate. Subscribe to the channel too. All that good stuff goes a long way. And we appreciate you in advance for atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean. All that good stuff that I've been saying for way too long. Gonna have to come up with a new gimmick here. I see you're getting the facial hair back a little bit though. Starting to look like Adam Scherer.
Yeah, I think I need to trim it up again. I got used to it.
Yeah, you're gonna go
Not shaved, but I might keep it shorter.
I can't imagine having to go out to work every day and shave every morning.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't had to do that since like I worked in restaurants and I didn't really have much facial hair at the time. So
I got the Harry's razors, and sure. I don't know if you've heard of it, like Dollar Shave Club, Harry, all those, those ones that they send you. They're good, but it's like, how many do you need? And then how often do you shave? And they're like, yeah, we'll ship it to you once every 6 months. Like, that'll do the job. All right. Well, let's get into it. We got 2 games to talk about. 206.5 total in the Knicks-Miami game. Josh affectionately referred to this game as a piece of shit this morning. And then you've got the Golden State Warriors, Lakers, 227 total. Lakers 3-point favorites at home. Looking to take another one. Go up 3-1 in the series. That could potentially be the dagger. We'll see. But anyway, let's go. And thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, man. Let's dive into this one. The New York Knicks and the Miami Heat kick it off with the road team here. They're what are they on? 2-1 in this series right now? It's 2-1, right?
2-1, yeah.
Yeah, not 3-1. Yeah, I mean, at this point, New York just doesn't look very good. You had Jared Allen talking about the lights were too bright. Well, Knicks coasted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not as easy against the Miami Heat. But now you're looking at this and you've got I want to update ownership real quick just to refresh. What do we have Randall at right now? Earlier today he was like 40-some%.
That's what I'm seeing right now, but I'm updating.
Okay.
Also.
Yeah, I mean it's very high ownership. He's been
48%.
48. He's been, and we updated only an hour ago. Oh, we have him as the highest owned player on the slate on DraftKings right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me.
Well, let's just start with that because Julius Randle's been someone who's, finally getting the minutes, 38 minutes in each of the 2 games he's played in this series, which is nicer than what we saw in that opening series against Cleveland. I don't know. I guess you have to assume at this point that he is fine, that his ankle's fine, but what do you make of almost 50% of the field projected to get to Julius Randle today?
So I think it's really interesting for a couple of reasons. One, this matchup, this game environment, obviously, it could just go over its total, but as far as what you're expecting, this game has a total that's like 20 points lower than the next game. So seeing anybody from this game that isn't, drastically mispriced being the highest owned guy is just sort of surprising. His price tag has come up a little bit as well. He's back to 8K. Like you said, he played big minutes last game, got about 38 minutes. But we also saw last game something that could end up benefiting Randle going forward. They went with him at center in the fourth quarter. That's something we hadn't seen in this series. Obviously, they were going to get blown out one way or the other, but they did go on a quick 8-0 run once he subbed in. And so if you're going to continue to see more minutes at the 5 for Julius Randle, that's likely to increase his production just through more rebounding and just, playing closer to the basket, all of that. Players typically produce more when they're at center. So that could be beneficial for him. The ownership is already there. If he were lower owned, I would be mentioning the center minutes more as like, this is even more reason to like him at low ownership. At 48%, I don't think it's enough to like move the needle to where he's still under owned or anything. He is a good play at that price. Like there's not a lot of good plays in that range. Maybe that's why he's getting more ownership too. But I think he looks good. I'm a little surprised he's getting as much ownership as he is.
Keeping in mind that they went small last game and closed with, and like you said, this game was beginning to get out of control, but closed with Randle, Hart, and by closed, I'm not including the what was it, like minute or whatever at the end of the game that they completely emptied the bench with Jeffries and McBride. But, closing the game out with Randle, Hart, Brunson, Grimes, and Obi Toppin. If there is a chance here that Julius Randle and they do go small, if Thibodeau does go small here, and they do get more minutes from Randle at the 5, trying to figure out something that can work. Because the only game they won, let's not forget, was the one that Jimmy Butler was out. And that wasn't exactly where they coasted by the Miami Heat. What does that do for Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein? And I know Robinson was in considerable foul trouble in that game. Do you project them for less minutes today?
I think you should project a little bit less. Like I'm not gonna just assume Randle's playing 8 to 10 minutes at center. He could, but I think it would be a mistake to assume that's like the most likely outcome. But I think expecting like 44 to 46 minutes from those guys makes sense, given what we saw last game and given that the Knicks are in a situation where they need to make some adjustments. Now you also have Emmanuel Quickly doubtful, so it could make it a little bit harder for them to play those small lineups since now you are missing your combo guard, one of your wings, like one of the guys that would be important in those lineups. But at the same time, you could just get more minutes for Grimes and McBride, and they still try to go small. So I think there's a good chance that you're getting at least a couple of minutes at center for Randle. And there's also a good chance that whatever additional minutes Randle's playing at the 5 become additional minutes for Obi Toppin as well. I don't really know that you can do anything with that, even in tournaments tonight, because Toppin is 4K. It's not like he's 3K flat. And you're talking about a situation where if Randle plays all of his minutes at the 4, you're probably getting like 10 to 12 minutes from Toppin. So even if Randle plays like 3 or 4 minutes at the 5, you're still talking about Obi Toppin playing like 14 minutes, which isn't going to be that fun at $4,000. But it also makes Hartenstein and Robinson look a little bit worse. If one of them's playing really well, they probably, play more minutes, stay on the floor. But Robinson's at 5,100. It's not like that's a super cheap price tag. Hartenstein's at 3,500. He looks more appealing of the two to me just because he is so cheap. Even if he just plays, 16 minutes or so as the backup, he could be fine. But then if you get Robinson foul trouble or you get Hartenstein playing well, he certainly could play more minutes also. But it's a really tricky spot because we did see that rotation change. And there's a lot of like small impacts that it would have, but we don't know for sure if they're going to do it. We don't know exactly how Quickly's likely absence is going to impact that as well. So it's still risky to do too much based on that lineup, but it does at least open the door to, us getting some different looks than we've seen from the Knicks so far.
Yeah, it opens a lot. It opens a lot up, especially for a 2-game postseason slate, because Isaiah Hartenstein right now, what's his ownership at?
Like 25.
25.
Yeah.
16 going to Robinson. Do you have interest in getting over the field on somebody like Robinson today, just given kind of the volatile nature of his playing time?
So right now, Robinson's not the one that I look like I'd be getting over the field on. I would be using a lot of $3,500 Hartenstein, which I don't feel great about, but it's just he's so cheap, and the value does open stuff up on a slate where you have LeBron and Davis and Curry at the top. So he's the one right now, at least, that's showing up more for me. And, again, it's not a ton of confidence there. It's just that he's less expensive.
What about Josh Hart? I mean, you're definitely paying a mid-range price point for him now, so it's not like he becomes insanely appealing, but he's been productive. This guy came an assist shy of a triple-double in game 2, which was alarming. But yeah, I mean, 2 quality double-doubles in back-to-back games, 32 and then 38 minutes in that loss the other day. He's 6,300 pulling what? How much? Well, I think he's at 22%. And then we'll get to Brunson, but RJ Barrett, 18%. We do have him 25% optimal. He was so bad last game, and Josh had pointed this out in the morning show, on the strategy show, that in 25 minutes, he managed to be minus 32 for the game, which is amazing, given that no one else was worse than a minus 18. That was Hartenstein in 26 minutes. But what a dreadful game from RJ Barrett. So where do you want to go with the remaining guys here? Barrett, Josh Hart. We can talk about Brunson here pulling sub 20% ownership. And then if you want, we can get into the likely absence of Emmanuel Quickly today, and if that affects the rotation.
Yeah. So
start wherever you want.
Yeah, with Quickly likely being out, it should solidify playing time for Barrett, Hart, to some extent Grimes. We saw last game, for example, Barrett only played 25 and a half minutes. You got 38 from Hart. Grimes played 22, Quickly played 20. But with Quickly out, it's just likely that you're going to get more consistent minutes from Barrett. Hart's already been playing a ton. So both of these guys at mid-range price tags look pretty good. They are just held back by being likely to be a relatively low-scoring game in general, but I think expecting mid to upper 30s from both Hart and Barrett certainly makes sense here. Grimes is a really, really interesting piece because he's been coming off the bench in this series. And in the last 2 games, we saw him play about 21 minutes or 22 minutes. That included garbage time, but he still physically played them. He played 26 minutes the game before that, and he closed over RJ Barrett in the Knicks win. We know Grimes played a big role for this team down the stretch during the regular season. The way the Knicks rotation is being projected is, with Quickly out, is that you see, 36 minutes or so from Barrett, 37, 38 from Hart. You see Miles McBride take some minutes, and then Grimes come in around like 20 to 24 minutes, in that ballpark. I think that's a very reasonable way to project it, but it doesn't have to go that way. Like, this is a must-win game for the Knicks. It wouldn't be that surprising if the Quickly minutes are just fully absorbed by Barrett, Hart, Grimes, and you don't even see, any of the other pieces on the floor for the Knicks. If that were to happen, then you're potentially looking at 28 to 30 minutes from Grimes. Again, I'm not saying I think that's the most likely case, but it's certainly something that has to be considered. And at 4,200 and low ownership, even if he's going to play 24 to 25 minutes, I don't mind taking the chance there. But knowing that there is some chance that the Knicks go with a more condensed rotation, and you get, especially if he's playing well, you get 28 to 30 minutes at 9% owned. It makes Grimes really interesting to me in tournaments.
Who's your favorite play right now from this team, given the ownership right now?
Given the ownership, I guess I still have to say Hartenstein, just because right now he's showing up the most. He's not my favorite in the sense that, like, I feel good about it, but I guess I don't feel good about Grimes either. But at 9%, I do like that ownership.
Okay. Anything else?
So kind of a tough one to answer. Like, from a ownership or value standpoint, I think it's Hart and Grimes. But just from a, like, who am I likely to get to the most, it's probably Randall, just because of how his price tag fits in.
Okay. Now, We can talk about Miami on the other side of this one. I got to pull something up here and see where Lowry's ownership was because it was high earlier today. Okay, 28%. Gabe Vincent, 34%. Jermaine had a question with a super chat. Thanks, Jermaine. DK Showdown, Knicks versus Heat, best captain, and tiers. Let me pull something up. Do you want to pull tiers up real quick, Adam?
Sure.
Thanks. Just looking at Showdown right now for the Knicks. Do we have that one up or do we have the other one up? Yeah, we got that up. All right. Your best captain's going to be, looks like Butler or Randall. Yeah, Butler or Randall. Bam and Brunson as well. I'm not really sure there are too many cheap value options there. I suppose you could get to like a Josh Hart or a Gabe Vincent. They're pulling 6% and 5% if you're trying to be real different there as far as captain goes. Highest owned captains right now there, Butler, Randall, Bam, and Brunson, looking at our Showdown ownership tools. You got that pulled up?
Yeah. Yeah. So tier 1 is, I would go Davis.
Jordan, you should put that up on the screen, by the way, the tiers.
What?
No, I was talking to Jordan. I was saying throw it up on the screen if you're going over each tier here.
Yeah. So tier 1, we have Davis projected the highest. Tier 2, we have Randall. Tier 3 looks like Clay. Tier 4, we have Looney projected the highest if he starts. I'm not confident he's starting, so that does matter. After him, if he comes off the bench, would be Reeves. Tier 5 should be either Vanderbilt or Schroeder, probably. Yeah, we have Actually, we have Caleb Martin slightly, but well, yeah, Love, Martin, Vanderbilt, all basically the same. We actually have Love first, and then tier 6. DiVincenzo, Hartenstein. Yeah, we have these guys pretty close together, but it looks like Hartenstein gets the edge.
All right. I love when people ask us tiers question. It just makes for great content. Michael Bernier? I don't know. Thanks, Michael. Plays 3 out of 30,000 using the lineup generator. It's great. Thank you. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. Love to see that. Throw the screenshot out there on Twitter. Get yourself in the Hall of Fame. Get a free month. Lineup generator, first week's less than $4.50. You guys know that. And the May bundle, last day. Today's the last day. Commemorating the massive Steve Buzzard wins, the Jake Hari wins, the Eddie wins, all of that. We decided to do 3 days for $5. Whether you do a weekly or a monthly, of course, you can cancel at any time, but links in the description and in chat. Lineup generators included in that too. It's Awesemo Platinum. Stochastic Awesemo. Well, because I was thinking Awesemo just had a nice little NASCAR win the other day too. We're doing all Stochastic plus Platinum. All the tools for every single sport. Nothing held back. Everything that we have on the site. $5, 3 days. Just choose weekly or monthly. When you click that link, it'll take you there. This is the last day we're doing this. So if you want to take advantage of it, jump on in, whether it's NASCAR, PGA, MMA, NBA, MLB, hockey, even if you don't know these sports, right? That's why you have the tools at your disposal. Take advantage of all of them. See how you like them. Jump in the premium Discord. Check out the lineup generator. We got a million different things. I'm not going to run through all of them. $5. Not much to lose there. $5, especially if you win. Think of it in, you end up winning and it starts to look real nice. So check it out. Link in the description and chat. Last day we're doing the May bundle, the $5 for 3 days. If you haven't gotten in yet, check it out. And as always, my DMs are open. You guys know that. You can DM me if you have questions about how any of it works or what makes the most sense for you. I'm happy to help you out. All right. Let's go to the Miami Heat on the other side of this one. So looking at the boom bust tool right now, Miami Heat, Gabe Vincent, 34% ownership, 36% optimal. Bam. And this, of course, included in Stochastic plus Platinum, not just for baseball or basketball, but for everything else. And then you've got Bam, 30% ownership, 29% optimal. Jimmy Butler, not that popular today. It's Kyle Lowry who's getting almost 30% ownership. I actually want to start with this backcourt rotation between Gabe and Kyle Lowry and see where you're landing here, because this is an interesting one at essentially identical price points.
Yeah, it's really tough because it's going to be determined in large part by who's playing better. Last game you got 25 minutes from Lowry, you got 30 from Vincent. Neither one did a ton. Lowry had the better game. I prefer going to Lowry. He's a little bit better fantasy producer. He's still got a path to playing 30 minutes potentially. But they are pretty similar. As long as the ownership isn't drastically favoring one or the other, I don't have a strong preference, but I lean Lowry. But right now, 28% ownership coming into Lowry, 34 to Vincent. In that case, I do, lean Lowry a little bit, but they're both decent value plays.
Now, the whole Bam thing here down to 7,700. It's funny when I look at Miami and I see this team and go, okay, where in the tools at least is the leverage coming from? Kyle Lowry, 30. We have him 37% optimal right now. We have Kevin Love with a positive leverage score, 15% ownership, 22% optimal. I mean, when you're looking at a slate like this, that's so condensed, that's so small, most of these rotations, you're going to see big minutes for all of the key guys. But then you got guys like Love, 24, 23 minutes over the last two games. Lowry played 30 and 31 minutes over the first two, and then 25 last game. Of course, one of those was without Jimmy Butler. But where does Kevin Love end up fitting into the equation today, getting only 15% ownership?
Yeah, another value piece that you aren't going to feel great about, but there's just not many that you are going to feel good about on this slate. Kevin Love coming in at 4,800. Last game, you got him starting, playing about 23 minutes. That's generally what you're going to expect, is that, he plays 22, 23 minutes. 2 games ago, we did get him playing in the fourth quarter, but that was the game that Jimmy Butler was out. Assuming Butler plays today, I'm expecting 22 minutes through 3 quarters and Love not to come back. But at 4,800, that is still viable. We have him with a 22% chance of being optimal, 15% ownership. And it just comes back to, you expect, unless something really weird happens on this slate, you're very much expecting some combination of Curry, LeBron, and Davis to be the highest scorers. Jimmy Butler, certainly in that conversation as well. There's not a lot in the mid-range. You have Brunson, who's good. You have Randall, you have Bam, but those guys are still far enough behind the top tier where you're just going to be going down to this 5K range quite a bit. So it doesn't even necessarily become Kevin Love has to do well for a $4,800 price tag. We have him with a 2.5% chance of 2.5% boom percentage, your chance of being essentially 5x plus 10. He just needs to do better than the other cheap guys who are just as, not good as him. And as long as the guys at the top do well, you're going to need that piece. So it's not really about Kevin Love or being super confident in him. And same goes for Caleb Martin. Same goes for Max Strus. They're all getting similar ownership. Martin and Love about 21 and 22% to be optimal. Strus only at about 12%, but we know that if he gets hot, he can get more minutes as well. So, none of those guys you're going to be very confident in, but that price range in general is very useful.
What about Bam and Jimmy today, the 2 highest priced guys on this team? And then as you see, and as it's been really all postseason, the price points fall off a cliff. It goes from Butler and Adebayo down to Kyle Lowry from a salary standpoint. So you expect to see a lot of opportunities here. With Jimmy Butler, who's been electric all postseason long, seems to be, I'd say, pretty much recovered, even though he's questionable but expected to play. Do you want to get Jimmy Butler's kind of expensive when you consider you have Anthony Davis similarly priced, you have Steph Curry similarly priced. He has had some incredible games, but this is a really low total contest, 206.5. I guess the question is, among everybody else in that 9,500 and up range to $10,200 Davis, where does Butler get prioritized, or if at all?
You said which range for him?
Well, yeah, I'm saying on DraftKings, there's 4 guys at 95 and up. There's Butler at 95.
So him, Curry, and the 2 Lakers. He's 4th, but that also is likely how everybody sees it. So that's where the tournament appeal comes in. Still, though, we only have him about 21% chance to be optimal on DraftKings. 26% ownership. Even if that optimal percentage comes up a little bit, it's not like he's really going under owned so much as just, he's still certainly a viable play. But you compare him to the guys in the Golden State game. Curry's getting 33% ownership. Davis is getting 28. LeBron's getting 34. So not a huge difference in ownership. And all three of those guys do project several points ahead of Butler.
We had a question in chat that we can get to here from, where was it? What's up, Ryan Houston? Yeah, Ryan, do you guys have a problem playing Vincent and Lowry together? Now, they've played 69 minutes together in the postseason, but if I had to guess, I'd say a decent amount of those minutes came in that game without Jimmy Butler.
They played 55 together last game. Or sorry, they played 55 total last game. So it was like 7 minutes together last game.
They did. I actually got that pulled up right now. Yeah. So they played 7 minutes together last game. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess the question is, are the price points reasonable enough for them to be viable? They played 20, and I assume this would be the case.
Yeah.
24 minutes together in that game without Butler.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I'm not setting a rule against it. It's not my favorite thing, but they do play enough minutes alongside each other where, just like we were saying with Kevin Love, it's not that you necessarily need both of them to, go nuts and each get you 35 DraftKings points or something like you would need during the regular season. It's more so, if Gabe Vincent plays 28 minutes and Lowry plays 26, there's still a nice chunk of the time that they're just the top two producers in their price range because it just means beating out, Kevin Love and Caleb Martin and Max Strus. It's not like those guys are, the most difficult guys to beat out.
Trey said AD had a good game last time, so definitely a shitty game tonight, right? I know you're joking, but it's funny because that good game from AD came on 10 field goal attempts. Like he got to the line 12 times, but the stocks and the rebounds really fueled him to 60 fantasy points. It's not even like he was that aggressive in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good matchup for him too. So yeah. To answer the question, yes, he most likely will be in the locker room like 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, right. Right. And I know Trey is semi-joking, but all right, let's wrap up the Miami Heat here. Then we can get to the second game, which gets very interesting. Are there any kind of peripheral options? Max Strus, can we get the blow-up game from him? Just draining threes. If that happens, then what's possible in a spot like this. He did close last game out, played 31 minutes. Who knows? Maybe he plays 23 today. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else we haven't talked about. I mean, outside of like the Caleb Martins and Zellers and Duncan Robinson types.
Right. Strus is the one that I think is kind of interesting to me just because he's getting 11% ownership compared to around 15 for Love and Martin. It's not a big gap. It's just Strus is very similar to those guys. We know, like, if he gets hot from three, not only is he going to stay on the floor, but obviously you're just getting a bunch of fantasy points. Like, the opportunities are there. It's just a matter of, can he make his shot? So at the lack of ownership, kind of interesting. 3,700 for Robinson. He hasn't been getting enough minutes recently for me to want to go there. Played 12 and a half last game. Played 12 and a half 3 games ago. So the game prior to Butler getting hurt or Butler missing. Last game, Robinson played 12 and a half again. So, obviously you got 20 in the non-Butler game, but assuming Butler is in, if you're going the Robinson, it is solely like hoping Martin gets in foul trouble hoping Strus gets in foul trouble or that, Robinson just gets hot off the bench and gets minutes away from Strus.
I want to back up for 1 second before we move to this next game because Quickly is confirmed out, as we expected to be the case. A couple of people talking about Miles McBride being a sleeper. He's gotten nothing but blowout run so far throughout the postseason. He's played 3, 4, 5, less than a minute, 1 minute. Hasn't even been hasn't gotten onto the court in every game. Question really is, does Emmanuel Quickly being out open anything up for some deep sleeper off the bench in the conference semifinals? Or do we just see a lot of those? Is it possible that we see some of those minutes just dispersed throughout guys that were already getting run and now they just play even more?
My expectation is that it just means more minutes for Barrett, Hart, and Grimes. My guess is that you get like maybe one rotation from McBride. I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't play and they just get Grimes more minutes. Like, the thing you have to keep in mind is they were very happy with Grimes down the stretch during the regular season. He played really, really well. And it's
When
kind of funny because I
Randall's
saw
out?
the same when I mentioned him when we talked about the Knicks, I saw the same, takes in chat that I would always bring up when he was like really popular at 6K, that he's not going to be a high usage guy, but if he knocks down open threes, he can get there. But now he's 4,200 and not popular. So it's different compared to during the regular season when he was just going nuts at every price tag, basically. But that's my expectation. If you are looking to play McBride, your reasoning would just be, if for some reason that is wrong and Grimes is not the next guy up, McBride is probably the next guy up. Like, McBride's going to be out there before Daquan Jeffries. And I don't think they're playing Obi Toppin at the 3. So that would be the case for McBride. Is just like, is everybody going to be wrong often enough? And then is he also, of the percentage of the time that everybody is wrong on the rotation, is he going to produce enough to get you there? But he is not somebody I would be playing. But if this rotation ends up going differently than I expect, it's probably good for McBride, I guess is how I put it.
People were yelling at me on Twitter the one day because do you remember when Derrick Rose came in mop-up duty against Cleveland that one game? Do you remember that at all? He came in like
in the postseason?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With like 2 minutes left. And I tweeted, I was like, it's really cool to see the warm reception that Derrick Rose got at Madison Square Garden, but I'd be out of the parking lot by now. And what I meant is like, yeah, okay, it was nice to see that. But do I really want to get stuck in traffic to watch a dude play 2 minutes in garbage time in a game that's already been decided? Pretty reasonable take.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah. They're like, dude, MVP, this guy, if he didn't get hurt, I'm like, forget about all that shit. I don't want to get stuck in traffic to watch Derrick Rose jack up 2 meaningless shots. I don't know.
You got to just get floor seats, though, so you don't have to worry about traffic. You just go to the bar in the back after the game.
Yeah, I presumably wouldn't have floor seats at Madison Square Garden. I'd be out of there, dude. There's absolutely nothing worse than having to sit in traffic after a game. It's the worst.
Yeah, I generally just go to a bar until I don't have to do that.
Yeah, not me. I'm like an hour from the stadium. It's not that easy.
Yeah, no, that's definitely different.
And it's not like I have quick access to a train right now. So
right. The last time I was at Madison Square Garden was a hockey game, Rangers game, went to overtime. So didn't leave early, got outside and was going to get an Uber and just kind of looked around and was just like, yeah, this can wait like 2 hours, and just walked to a bar and waited until nobody else was outside.
I think that's a good idea. Usman said, and you call yourself an NBA fan, huh? Yep, sure, but not sticking around for that. I can promise you that much. Oh, Derrick Rose. And by the way, Derrick Rose was 0 for 4. So, I mean, boy, you stuck around. You really saw a show. All right, let's talk about Golden State Warriors and the LA Lakers. Warriors +3 on the road. There's a chance that they go down 1-3 or 3-1 in this series. We got to tackle this one from the top first. Actually, you know what? No, let's start with Kevon Looney, because I think this is more important than talking about anything to do with Steph Curry right now, or Klay Thompson, or Draymond Green, who's pulling a considerable amount of ownership, second highest owned player, I think, on the slate right now. We got to talk about Kevon Looney, and we have to talk about JaMychal Green, and essentially just and Jordan Poole could be factored into this, depending on what the starting lineup looks like. Shit, I have no idea. And I mentioned to Josh and I talked about it this morning. I know that Steve Kerr said before last game that Looney was feeling great and he was back to full strength. What if he wasn't? Like, what if he actually wasn't? What if he does start today? I have no idea. Or they just don't want to play him alongside Draymond Green against the Lakers.
Yeah, it's a spot where I have no idea what the starting lineup is going to be, because it's not even like we're talking JaMychal Green versus Kevon Looney. You can start Moses Moody here. Josh and I said before the series started that we thought before the series was over, you would get Kuminga in the rotation. Not saying I think he starts, but like in theory he could. They could go to Poole. So like, even if they do make a starting lineup change, because I'm certainly not guaranteeing that JaMychal Green starts a third straight game, but even if they make a starting lineup change, they could just go with a different lineup. It's not like Kevon Looney was having success in slowing down Anthony Davis in those early games. So it's not crazy if Golden State just sort of accepts they don't have a real answer for Anthony Davis and they get another scorer out there. So I don't know what the starting lineup is going to be. If Kevon Looney starts, he looks fantastic. Right now, we have him projected to start, and so he looks great. We have him with like a 40% chance of being optimal if you assume he starts and plays like 29 minutes. When I ran my stuff, assuming he comes off the bench, I get him with like a 10% chance of being optimal. So it makes a huge difference, clearly, if he's starting. It's also going to have a big impact on his ownership, because if you get a lineup with him starting, everybody paying attention is going to be late swapping to whatever Looney they can get to. If he doesn't start, obviously people are going to be trying to get away from him.
Michael with a super chat. Nice job. You got my name right in both English and French. Yeah, try and cover all the bases, man. There's only a few names that I've truly butchered here. I still get Jorge's last. Jordan, how do you pronounce Jorge's last name? Jacome? All right. What makes you say that, man? I'm just joking. Hey, in the day and age we live, someone would say that and be entirely serious about it too. All right. Draymond Green. Yeah, Jorge just makes it rain memberships. He's got to tell it. He's got to give me the frenetic, whatever, and help me out so I never butcher that again. Because he was up in the Hall of Fame, was it? He's in the Hall of Fame coming up after this. Yeah. Rock those avatars. Another dude, $2. He had $2 and turned it into 1,700, rocking the avatar, picks up the free month. I mean, you just can't beat it, dude. Just stochastic.com/avatar. Use it. DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever it is you play. You win, finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Boom. Tweet those wins at us. The Stochastic HOF. Get a free month, $120 value. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Be a crowning achievement in your life. Bring the family around the computer. Show them what you've accomplished. And they all go, okay, cool. I'm going to go back to Real Housewives. All right. Draymond Green, ownership 47% right now. He's one of the most popular plays on the slate. And he's $6,000, power forward, center eligible. So he's got the MPE working for him. How much Draymond Green are you looking to get to with him being owned by almost 50% of the field?
Yeah, he just looks good because of the position and the price tag. We talked about it with Julius Randle, that you're not necessarily looking at an 8K Julius Randle against Miami and saying like, oh, I love this spot, but he's getting a lot of ownership just because you need somebody at that position. There's not a lot of good plays there, and he fits in nicely. It's the same thing with Draymond at 6K. The playing time should be there. If he's getting minutes at the 5, cool, you get more rebounding opportunities without Looney out there. So Draymond's just going to look good at that price, high scoring game, just very easy to fit into lineups. Again, it's not so much about him so much as just he's cheap enough where you can get there, save a little bit of money off of like Randall, and it makes it even easier to get up to these top end guys.
That's a fun conversation in chat right now. If Derrick Rose didn't have knees made of paper mache or eggshells, do you think he would be a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Partly because it's
so easy to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, like I was going to say, it's extremely easy to make the NBA Hall of Fame. Obviously, or Basketball Hall of Fame. Obviously, it's not, but
you're saying it's easier than some other sports,
right? It's nowhere near as selective as other sports are.
Do you think Derrick Rose would have gone on to win finals?
Finals is obviously really difficult to talk about. Like, he'd still be playing his whole career with LeBron, so that makes it tough. And a lot of it with Golden State. So who knows about finals? I think he would have been a legitimate star.
Who would have been playing with LeBron in Golden State?
I'm saying it's hard to say like, oh yeah, he would have won finals.
When you're saying if he
LeBron James is playing and Golden State exists.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right, and who knows? Maybe he would have landed on a LeBron team or one of those teams. Yeah,
LeBron would have loved him. He is a ball handler who can't shoot.
It's tough to say. Yeah, and Smokey said if you win an MVP and don't get into the Hall of Fame, then what are we even doing? Yeah, I don't know. I think you probably find some MVPs that I'd have to go back and look at that. Like what MVPs are just had a fluke season.
I'd be curious, especially in terms of basketball, because again, it's so tough they're so easy to get in. Like baseball, there's I'm sure plenty of MVPs that are not in the Hall of Fame.
I'm going to look that up while we're going over the Warriors, but looking at the rest of
Roy is another one that would have been fantastic if he had stayed healthy.
Who?
Brandon Roy.
Yeah. Yeah, not everybody has the breaks go their way. What are you going to do? All right. Jordan Poole. Is this one of these spots with Jordan Poole where he could just see excess minutes tonight in a spot, especially if they're playing from behind and they desperately need shooting?
So he could. It's just there's multiple ways this could go, right? Like if they're trying to get more scoring out there, obviously Poole helps with that, but you still don't want Poole taking shots from Clay and Curry. So, they could go that way. You're also getting a defensive liability out there, though, which, so you could see them go the complete opposite direction, give more minutes to Moody. That's something I certainly think you could see here. I mentioned, if this is the game where Kuminga gets a rotation or two off the bench, that wouldn't be shocking. So Poole is definitely a tournament option. If he's coming off the bench, 38.5% ownership seems a little bit high, but then again, I guess he is 5K, so it's not totally crazy. The upside's certainly there. If he's starting, you assume he's going to play more minutes. Obviously, if he's starting, that means more minutes where both Steph and Clay are out there, but that would be good for his projection. Again, I think there's a pretty decent chance Moses Moody starts. The first substitution of the first half was Poole and Moody coming in for Wiggins and JaMychal Green. Wouldn't be surprised if JaMychal just turns into either Poole or potentially Moody.
The only MVP I'm looking at that maybe outside of Rose wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, Jokic.
I mean, Jokic is clearly going to be in the Hall of Fame. Oh, I wasn't looking at your face.
Josh said he thought records left and right. What?
Yeah, Josh said he thought the only one was Rose.
Yeah, and people would probably look at this and be like, "What about Westbrook? Westbrook will for sure be in."
Yeah, absolute Hall of Famer.
Was that
absolutely going to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, for sure. But there's people who look at him now. You forget. That was the triple-double year, averaging he averaged 32, 10.7, and 10.4. Crazy.
Travis Meyer said Gary Payton is tonight's Shamit. If Gary Payton starts knocking down corner threes, this game went really weird.
Yeah, what did Landry Shamit have, like 16 points or something egregious yesterday?
Yeah. Like I assume that he meant not in the same way, but
just a guy that comes out of nowhere.
As well. But it's a lot more difficult for that to be somebody like Gary Payton because like Landry Shamit's skill set is standing there and taking open shots, which Denver will willingly give him. Gary Payton is just like getting defensive stats and dunking, and it's not like the Lakers are going to just let Gary Payton stand under the basket.
Anybody else for Golden State before we flip over to the Lakers here?
So I think it's just a really interesting tournament team rotation wise because you have DiVincenzo at 3,600 projected for 23.5% ownership, and I get he's been the one getting the most consistent minutes there, and he's cheap. But again, like Moody played 2 minutes less than him last game, and is getting 1/3 the ownership. Gary Payton's not getting any ownership. He wasn't in the rotation 2 games ago. Last game he played like 13 minutes total, including garbage time. So you're not expecting him to be in the rotation. Again, I think they're more likely if one of those guys comes back. I think it's more likely to be Kuminga. But the point being, like Moody is really interesting to me at 9% owned. If you wanted to roll the dice on one of Payton or Kuminga, I think you could hope to get lucky. But the DiVincenzo ownership is kind of surprising at 23.5%.
It is kind of cool when it's not happening to me, like what just happened to you, where a human short circuits.
Yeah.
Your brain kind of just short circuits for a second and what you're trying to say isn't connected to your brain.
Yeah, I just kept seeing like the beginning of DiVincenzo's name.
It's awesome because it sounded like you were like a computer or something. Jordan, you gotta, it's funny because you caught it immediately and just smirked like, all right, well, I'm not going to get away from that one. Lakers. Oh, one more thing. Are you just banning people right now?
No, I just got tired of him repeating over and over and over that Derrick Rose was a good player.
Oh, okay. So you're just full out dictator in there. Super chat. James Magruder, Russell, Vincent, and Reeves. All right. So D'Angelo Russell, Gabe Vincent, and Austin Reeves. And by the way, we have the free player compare tool over on Stochastic. If you guys are looking for that 1v1s, 2v2s use that. Our projections and ownership are in there, especially if it's on like live before lock and we're up against it, Russell, Vincent Reeves, or Brunson, Strus, and Schroeder.
I prefer the Russell side. I have not much confidence in Vincent, but also no confidence in Strus or Schroeder. Obviously, Brunson's the highest projected player, but I don't think it's a big enough margin that I would want to go to the other three.
Yeah, me neither. 17 likes to 200. We're almost there. And who's on live before lock? Do we got Greg and Neil coming up? Yeah. All right, Greg Ehrenberg, Neil Orfield taking you up till 7:30. Tip off between Miami Heat and New York Knicks. Let's talk about the Lakers. Last thing before we do though. Go ahead.
I just, while you were talking, I added up the difference, and the Russell Reeves side projects nearly 11 points higher.
Okay, so just a way better side. Yeah. Prize Picks. I saw them tweet out today that some guy was they threw this guy's card out there because they're doing the $1 million drawing thing each day. I wish I could find it real quick, but I think so what they do is if you enter a lineup, and Josh can clarify because Josh has been doing the videos for Prize Picks every day on the Odd Shopper channel. If you enter, I think it's a 6-pick flex play lineup, I think minimum $5. You are entered into basically the drawing every day. Every day in the NBA playoffs, every single day, someone has a shot to win $1 million. And the one that I saw, the guy who got it today, okay, so he got his entry in ahead of time, and I think he just went straight Knicks game. So yesterday, the guy that had a shot got 4 of 6. He got $16,000. I wish I could find it. I think it was like all Knicks Miami, which is wild. And it was all overs. No, I don't know if it was all overs, but you got it? Yeah, Vincent, Randall, Butler, Bam, Hart, and Brunson. I can't, are they all overs? Oh, he went 6 overs. Oh man, that should be fun. All right. All overs on that. Ooh, he hits all 6. He's got $1 million. And I think it's like what, 86,000 if he hits 5, 16,000 if he hits 4. If you haven't signed up yet, 100% first match deposit bonus on Prize Picks. They're doing big things over there. You can mix as many sports as you want on top of that with all of your lineups, whether you're doing a 6, 5, 4, 3-pick flex play. If you're doing 5, you 10x if you hit them all. But if you only hit 4 on like a traditional parlay, you still 2x. So you're still getting 2x if you have 4 or 5. You make money back on 3. 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So very simply put, if you put $100 in, you now have $200. Another thing, let's not bury the lead here because this is what makes this promo insane. You sign up using Prize Picks, assuming it's available in your state, especially for those of you in non-legal betting states looking to, scratch that itch. You get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. All of those tools we talked about earlier in the show with the May bundle, where you're getting the 3 days for $5. If this is untapped for you, uncharted territory, and you're not on Prize Picks yet, forget about that. Jump in on this one, get a free month of every single one of our tools for every sport, including a lineup generator with that for free, $120 value. Plus the 100% first match deposit bonus up to $100 on Prize Picks. Plus the fact that, who knows, maybe you're that lucky guy or girl and you got a shot at $1 million one of these days throughout the postseason. Doing big things over there. We partnered with them, said, hey, we'll give a free month out. You're already doing a $100 first match deposit. We're going to give a free month out to anyone that signs up and goes to your site. Win-win for everybody, man. Check it out. Get in on the action. 1 free month, 100% deposit bonus up to $100. All right. That's Prize Picks, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. Link in the description. And the link is also in chat. All right. Let's wrap this one up with the LA Lakers. All right. So the Lakers today, Austin Reeves, 40%. He's just not had a great series, Adam, but you have to think that with the amount of minutes this guy was getting leading up to the last couple of games, that if he plays well early on, he's probably going to go back to, 35 minutes again.
Yeah, it's just easy for him to find those minutes given how much the Lakers trust him. And also keep in mind, the last 2 games were blowouts in either direction. So you only got 25 minutes and 3 quarters from Reeves 2 games ago. You got In the last game, you got 30 minutes from Reeves, but he sat the final 8 minutes and 33 seconds of the fourth. He had played the entire second. There was a good chance if that last game was competitive, you were getting, 38 minutes or so.
How much of him do you want to get to at 40%? Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry. Ryan said Prize Picks isn't available in Ohio. We have the BetMGM one, dude. You get a free month of Stochastic plus Platinum with the BetMGM promo too. We have the link. All you do is put $10 in and bet it. And whether it wins or loses, you're getting a free month of Stochastic. But we do this because we expect you to win. We hope you stick around. Join our Discord. Become part of the community. BetMGM. If Prize Picks isn't available, that probably is. And your first bet is insured up to $1,000. So if you lose, you're getting up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. So yeah, don't feel left out if you're not in a Prize Pick state. Of course, must be 21 years old to gamble. If you're someone who has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, go ahead, Austin Reeves.
So he looks like one of the best mid-range plays on the slate, kind of comparable to Draymond, where you're not super excited about getting to him, but it is an appealing game environment, should be a back and forth game, high scoring. He's only 5,600. And if the game's competitive, you're just likely getting mid to upper 30s in minutes from Austin Reeves. So makes him look really good just because you can use him in a variety of different lineups. Same can be said for D'Angelo Russell for $800 more. 36% projected ownership, 33% chance of being optimal, likely giving you mid 30s if this game's competitive. The risk you run with him is that, potentially gets played off the floor for defensive reasons, but that hasn't been the case so far in this series. You shouldn't expect it to be the case here, even though it could happen. We've seen him be able to stay on the floor so far. So him and Reeves both look like two of the best mid-range plays.
The Lakers, man, you've got D'Angelo Russell, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, though, 27% ownership. He's the highest priced player on the slate. Obviously has a monster ceiling. We have him with slight positive leverage today, 41% boom score in the boom bust tool, though. If you're looking at that across everybody else, Anthony Davis has the highest boom score by 3%. Really curious where you're coming in on Davis and LeBron today on a night where you don't have that many top tier. Like yesterday, you had what? Jokic, you had Booker, you had Durant, you had, I'll throw Harden in the mix, but whatever. Joel Embiid, you had Jason Tatum, just those guys. That's a lot. Today, it's really not that many.
Yeah, and one other thing that's really interesting is the Kevon Looney piece, because like in our boom bust tool right now, where we have Looney projected to start, we have Anthony Davis with about a 30% chance of being optimal at 28% ownership. So going a little bit under owned, but nothing too crazy. In the stuff I ran where I didn't project Looney to start, Davis got up to a 42% chance of being optimal. And that makes sense when you have Looney, who looks fantastic if he starts and looks really, really risky if he's coming off the bench. But with them both being center only, it does have an impact on how likely Davis is to be optimal as well, what that Golden State starting lineup looks like. So that's something else to keep in mind, where if we do get confirmation Looney is starting, your interest level in Davis should just naturally come down a little bit, not because of anything to do with Kevon Looney himself, but just that you're getting a center only value piece that looks really good. Whereas if he's coming off the bench, that just lowers the opportunity cost at the position. But one way or the other, really like Davis here. He's cheap at 10-2. That's a very inexpensive price tag for Anthony Davis. You're obviously expecting him to play huge minutes as long as this game's competitive. And Golden State just doesn't really have any sort of answer for him. They don't have the size to deal with him. Looney can't keep up with him. So Davis looks really, really good. It's just he's going to look better if Looney isn't starting because there's less opportunity cost at the position.
Now, so I think we've touched on most of the top tier and highest owned guys. This is probably the best place to close this before we turn this over to live before lock. And by the way, shout out to you guys, well over 200 likes. Thank you. As always, no doubt in my mind that we would get there. So appreciate you. When we look past the Davis and LeBron and Russell and Austin Reeves, right? You start getting down into the Lonnie Walkers and the Rui Hachimura, who, if he's playing well, some days you're going to see additional playing time. We saw that in the Memphis series as well. We saw him shoot really well 2 games ago and get a little bit of additional run. And then Lonnie Walker, who saw some extended playing time last game out. If you want to throw Vanderbilt and Schroeder into the mix, that's fine. But I mean, those are really the only other semi-relevant guys that we're going to talk about on this team. Do you have any good read for which of these make the most sense in tournaments and which you'd get the least of?
So I think Walker makes the most sense to me right now just because he's the cheapest and he's shooting guard small forward. So it's easiest to fit him into lineups. One thing I like is that the Lakers won the last game easily, and Walker played pretty well. It's unusual. Like, you don't generally expect teams to make rotation changes after they win. You saw Walker enter the lineup last game after the blowout loss to Golden State in game 2. So I think he looks good. Obviously, there is some risk. Maybe they just go back to Troy Brown, even though I don't think that they will. Rui is not that much more expensive at 3,900, but his ownership is close to Lonnie Walker. And given the cheaper price tag on Walker and the multi-position eligibility, I do prefer him at those ownership marks. But Rui at 3,900 is kind of interesting. He didn't play a lot last game, at least, in the first half. He ended up getting to 16 and a half minutes. But in the game before that, he played 22 minutes and maybe would have played more had the game been competitive. So it's not like it's outlandish to think that Rui is the one that plays 22 to 24 minutes here, and Lonnie Walker plays 16 to 18. To some extent, it's going to depend how they're playing. So both of those guys in tournaments look pretty good. Schroeder's fine as well. He's getting less ownership than both of them. The problem with Schroeder is that most of his value from like a fantasy standpoint is coming from scoring and or playmaking. And when you have LeBron and Davis out there, obviously you don't need that much of that, not to mention, D'Angelo Russell and Reeves. But for Rui, you can get, extra rebounding. For Lonnie Walker, you can get some defensive stats. Obviously you can get defensive stats for Schroeder too, but Walker also just cheaper with the MPE. So Schroeder, I think, is third or fourth. I think him and Vanderbilt are pretty comparable, whereas getting to Rui and Walker at the cheaper price tags looks a little bit more appealing, but Rui and Walker are also getting like 2x the ownership.
Mark Smith said, I have a Rui top shot. Well, it's time to retire, my friend.
I think I used to.
I
think I still do, actually.
I gotta say, I got an email from them today that they had like a metallic gold drop or something.
For like $70.
I didn't even look. You remember at one point they were like 300 or 400 or something.
Yep. Yeah, I clicked it just to see how much it was. It's like $69 or something.
Is it? But it kind of, there was a part of nostalgia there, because for a little while there, we had a hell of a time. Like,
yeah. As soon as I saw MGLE, I think that's why I clicked it. I was just like,
yeah, it brought you back.
Yeah.
Man, we had a blast. I think it was the only thing we talked about for 2 straight months.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I was like, all right, well, this is done. But yeah, that was also during COVID. So there wasn't that during COVID?
I thought it
had to be. There's no way it was what was it?
I thought it was after COVID, because I remember being in my apartment.
Maybe,
or no, I think it was before COVID and then leading into COVID.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it was like early 2020.
Right. I think you're right. Was it that long ago? I guess so.
That's when COVID was.
No, I was Top Shot that long ago.
Yeah.
There was. Yes, I remember that. I remember all about that. It was like
it could have been early 2021.
That's what I was thinking. It's either early 2021 or because I joined in January of either 2020 or 2021.
Right. And I was, I think, like March or something. But I remember being at like my desk in my apartment as opposed to at my mom's. So I feel like it was probably 2021.
Yeah, probably was. I don't know. Either way, it brought me back a little bit. Those were fun times. And it's all gone now. But anyway, you got Greg and Neil coming up next. As you guys know, you can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. You can follow me at Laffy_D. Hopefully soon to be at Laffy. We can drop that stupid fucking _D and we can get on with life. Shout out to Jordan Klein, as always, for producing today's show. We appreciate January 2021. Yep, you're right. So it was like COVID, but it wasn't the thick of it. It was the thick of Delta or whatever the hell was running through us at that point. We'll see you guys back here. Greg and Neil coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow on the Deeper Dive. Of course, the strategy show and all that good stuff. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct some of you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Give away a whole lot of free memberships. $120 value, by the way. Stochastic Plus Platinum. All you got to do to get your name up here in all its glory, get that free month, download the Stochastic Avatar at stochastic.com/avatar and use it wherever it is you play. Then when you win, finish top 3 even in a field of 5,000 or more, tweet those wins to us at Stochastic, HOF on Twitter. Get your free month, get inducted. Let's get into it. For the new week, we kick it off with Mr. 586 or Mr. Woods 586. These are, I think I enjoy doing these the most because you're not playing, a lot of volume every day. Maybe not the biggest bankroll, but you turn 35 cents into, what was it, $600 something here for Mr. Woods. 35 cents gets a free month out of doing that just because he's rocking the Stochastic avatar. Shout out to you, man. You got the subscription the entire month now off of 35 cents. First place out of 133,000. Just monstrous. And Alexis Sarah, another one. We had 2 of these this week. I'm telling you, these are feel-good stories right here. Just want to say thank you for the great show every day. Laffy and Josh and Engelman always make me laugh in the morning show. Love to hear that. Finally got first. How about this? $2.72, $1,700 for Wink Chester, rocking the avatar, got the free month, up here, Hall of Fame. So between the two of them, $3 into what? $2,400 off of $3. Massive ROI and the free month. Then Hollywood Chop coming in hot with at Stochastic Hall of Fame. First time using Stochastic. Yeah, not a bad day for your first time. Second place, single entry in the 4-point play. $7,500 for Hollywood Chop. Monster win there. And our best friend Jorge, always making it rain in chat with those free Stochastic memberships. We appreciate you for that. Finally, after being weeks on top 10 or 50, today got first place in the $1 Minimax. Thanks to Stochastic and as well for the team in today's show with valuable information. First place, $2,000. Little MLB action for Jorge. Congrats, dude. How about Rick Bunning? Second tweet, second Hall of Fame induction. Let's go. Thanks for the great tools at Stochastic. Kudos to Josh Engelman as well on the campaign fade third place, in the 30K jab step on DraftKings. And then you've got D. Fick. Who knew Jokic, Harden, and Tatum could fit in the same lineup? Thanks, Laffy and Josh. First place in the end one, $1,500. Another free month for our boy D. Fick. And as always, you see it every week on an absolute heater, a huge tear. We're literally running promos because of this man right here, Steve Buzzard, the Colts. Another, ho-hum $100,000 win here in MLB. Keep it going, Steve. Massive heater. Biggest I can remember seeing for sure. And our own Eddie Lai as well. How about it? Our CFO, then the CTO, $50,000 in MLB from Eddie. Just some flex emojis there coming from Eddie on Twitter. And Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. Big week for these boys. It's not about how much money you win for first place. It's about the friends you make along the way. First place chop for Awesemo himself, $11,000 there. A little NASCAR action, taking that one down. And we'll close it out with a little betting one because the Odd Shopper tools, be it the Parlay Builder or Odd Shopper Premium, have just been crushing lately. Fun night, Odd Shopper Hall of Fame. Hello, my friend. We'll throw it in this one. Why not? Because News Guide is our guy, El Negro Loco. You know him from chat. 4 big parlay hits on small wagers, making a massive ROI and closing out our Hall of Fame for this week. Remember, all you got to do, download the Stochastic avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF and get that free month. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Welcome to all of you.
What is happening, everybody? I hope you guys are ready for a show today because we've got a 2-game NBA slate to break down. It is myself and a man formerly known as the Flannel God, Neil Orfield, but no flannel today. So I assume he has plans tonight. We'll talk more about that in a second. As you guys come in, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and a couple good NBA games to talk about. We've got the Warriors taking on the Lakers again. We got the Knicks against the Heat. Jimmy Butler just confirmed in, which I don't think takes any of us by surprise. I think we're all expecting that all day long. they've been listing him as questionable the last couple of games, but really no doubt that he's going to end up playing. So we'll be talking about all of our top plays on the slate. We'll be answering your guys' questions. If you have questions for us in Discord, at me so we could answer those. But other than that, we're sponsored by Prize Picks. Excited to talk about them in a little bit. Neil, what's the deal with no flannel today?
Greg, it's hot out. That's the only reason I'm not going out tonight. It's just too hot to wear flannel right now. I mean, it's like 75 today. I also went for 5 miles on the treadmill, followed by walking my dog outside. So I'm still sweating. I'm still sweating from a run that finished like an hour and a half ago. So yeah, just got to go short sleeves today. So no flannel just because it's too hot. But I'm wearing my XFL hat. I figured I got to have something to identify me so people know who I am. I got the beard, and then I have to have either a flannel or an XFL hat so that people know who I am.
So this doesn't register with me, and I'm sure Jordan's going to feel the same way. If it's too hot and I want to be comfortable, my first thought is never time for a collared shirt. That is not something you don't own t-shirts or anything.
I have a million black or like dark blue V-neck t-shirts. I don't really like the t-shirt that you're wearing. I don't like that neck as much. I've got like a weird thing with things touching my neck. I struggle with like wearing ties. So Jordan's giving me such a weird look right now. I like V-necks. So I wear V-necks a lot. I often have the top button on my shirt unbuttoned. It's not like a big thing. I can wear a tie. I prefer not to, but I wear them running. So I've been like running consistently. All of my regular t-shirts are just dirty right now. So yeah, going with the V-neck, going with the collared shirt.
All right. Well, dirty doesn't stop you from wearing flannels. The other thing too, Neil, you've won a Millie Maker, and it seems like you own 5 flannels, 4 t-shirts, and that's like your entire wardrobe. Is that correct?
Yeah, more or less. No, I just said I have a million V-necks, Greg. I wear them running, and I only wear them once, by the way. These V-necks. When I wear a V-neck and I wear it running, I only wear that shirt once before it goes in the wash.
Oh, okay. So, by the way, when you said you only wear it once, I was thinking maybe you discard them after you're done with them.
Not that rich, sadly.
Yeah, good of you to work out and get sweaty and then actually wash that set of clothes afterwards. But there's something a little suspect here. I'm beginning to think more and more the more I learn about you. You're maybe not the most hygienic person in the world.
I shower twice daily, Greg. I swear to God, I'm very clean. I just don't wash my jeans as much as some people do, apparently.
Yeah, hey, I get it. You shower but then you put on dirty clothes right afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
So that doesn't really do us any good. But either way, we got an NBA slate to talk about, and I already see that we have some questions coming in. By the way, shout out Spencer Smith in the chat, said Greg wears a G-string to run in. Imagine thinking I run. Incredibly unhealthy for your knees. I do no such thing. Super chat right off the bat, not surprising. Ace of Spade wants to know about DK tiers, and I'll pull it up over here. I've got running through the tiers. Tier 1 for me is Anthony Davis. And listen, he's been up and down throughout the playoffs from a fantasy perspective. If you look at the last few games for AD, I mean, just listen to this game log. 59.75, 31.75, 75.25, 46, 63.75. The guy's been all over the place, inconsistent. But if we're just talking about the pay up options, and we're just talking about tiers, we're only worried about projection. I do have him projected better than the likes of LeBron, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, who are all the other options in that tier. So tier 1 for me is Anthony Davis. Tier 2, I'm rolling with Julius Randle there. Tier 3, Klay Thompson. Tier 4, that is Austin Reeves. Tier 5, Kevin Love. And then tier 6 for me is Isaiah Hartenstein. So Ace of Spade, thank you very much for the super chat. I do appreciate it. And I'm sure we're going to be getting more DK tiers questions as we go, because that has become a very hot topic on this show these days. People love to hear about DK tiers, and I oblige. Whatever it is that you guys want to talk about, we do answer. But I want to ask you something, Neil, because the one to me that's probably the closest in tiers is tier 1, where we've got Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler. Now, tiers is inherently different from just classic DFS contests. So I'm wondering, who is your priority spend up option in your lineups tonight when we've got, a handful of studs to look at on a 2-game slate?
Yeah, probably Anthony Davis coming in at the lowest ownership, the highest projected. Obviously, the reason for that is he is 500 more than LeBron, 600 more than Steph Curry. But just given the slight ownership discount, it's probably Anthony Davis. I think his ceiling is as high as anybody's, his floor is as high as anybody's, and he's going lower owned. I mean, there's not a huge distinction. It's a little bit tough for me to like really want to make a call at the high end, but I think I'd go Anthony Davis there. How about you?
Yeah, so for me, it's Anthony Davis. He's the one I get the most exposure to, and I get that he's a lot more. So a couple things, right? So first off, he's a lot more expensive than everybody else. Well, maybe not a lot more, but $500 more expensive than LeBron. We've got him 600 more than Steph Curry, and then 700 more than Jimmy Butler. So, there's a little bit of a price gap there, but I do have Anthony Davis just projected better than all of these guys. And it makes him stand out more than anybody else, especially when you consider that, like you said, his ownership is not that much different from the other guys. We've got him about neck and neck with LeBron and Steph Curry, and then Jimmy Butler being the lowest of the four, at least in terms of ownership. So I am going to be rolling with Anthony Davis today as my most rostered spend up option. Do you have a least favorite of the spend ups?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I guess it was hard to say a favorite. I guess my least favorite would have to be probably LeBron, since I'm playing more Anthony Davis here. I'm more likely, I think, to go to Steph Curry on the comeback rather than having pairing LeBron with I don't have an issue with pairing LeBron with Davis, but I think I would go with LeBron as my least favorite just because he is a little bit lower owned than Curry. It's close there, but I'll say LeBron without feeling very strongly about it.
Yeah, and I should say that I was looking at an old ownership when I was just doing that. I was looking at an older run, but either way, I mean, it's still, there's not very much separating these top guys in terms of ownership. I'm going to read it off here for DraftKings and FanDuel, just so I make sure that I'm bringing you guys the most accurate information here. LeBron James is projected for 34.6% ownership. Steph Curry projected for 34.4%. And then we have Jimmy Butler at 29.3%, Anthony Davis at 26.7%. So very close between the four pay-ups, but Anthony Davis actually is the lesser owned of all four. So more reason for me to want to be getting to Anthony Davis there. And in terms of my least favorites, and oh boy, I'm about to get trolled for this, but it is what it is. Jimmy Butler, he's just not the same fantasy producer as these other guys. I know he's been really, really good in the playoffs. I do worry a little bit about the ankle, though. I don't know how much of a concern that is for you, but scores 40.5 fantasy points last game. They did ease up on his minutes a little bit. Part of that was because the game was not super competitive against the Knicks. They were able to ease back on his minutes, but there was times during the game where you saw Jimmy Butler was grimacing at times. He was kind of favoring the ankle. Now, was it massively prohibitive? No. But at the same time, too, if you look at over the entire course of the season, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Anthony Davis were better fantasy producers than Jimmy Butler. And I do think Jimmy Butler is the least healthy of the four at the moment. So he is going to be the one I get the least exposure to. And none of them are outright fades. I have exposure to all of them in some way, but I'm underweight to the field on Jimmy Butler now. And the one that I get the least amount of exposure to. So in any way, go ahead.
I just want to say, I actually agree with you. After looking at it, I didn't realize how expensive Jimmy Butler is. Seeing that Jimmy Butler is just 100 cheaper than Steph Curry, it has to be Jimmy Butler. I mean, I'm definitely going to have the least of him. Just the game environment is so much better for the Lakers-Warriors game. If they can just keep a game close, it's going to be massive scoring in that game. So yeah, it kind of has to be Jimmy Butler, even without the ankle issue. But then you add in an ankle issue on top of it. I think that is actually the right call.
Yeah, and I know people are going to be like, oh, that's because you hate Jimmy Butler. I mean, there's been times where I've been on Jimmy Butler also. It's just, I mean, if we're being just realistic here, over the course of this season, the last couple seasons, who are the best fantasy producers of these four players? And it's not Jimmy Butler, and he costs the same as all of them. So that's where I am at with my particular lineup builds for today. A couple more super chats. First, Sam Van Dam. Bet Neil uses Brute aftershave on his nether regions. That's okay.
I did. So I never shave close enough that I would need aftershave. I don't even use aftershave on my face. So I do not. I don't think I've ever used Brute, period. I don't even know what it smells like.
I don't think Neil has ever shaved.
I mean, that's also a good point.
Yeah. Like, I mean, something too, if you look at Neil, like what would be an indication of like, what is the aftershave Neil uses? He always has a beard on the show. The only time Neil didn't have a beard, I remember this was like 8 months ago.
He didn't say on my face, by the way.
Yeah, that is true as well. But about 8 months ago, Neil actually only shaves his lower chest, but only that part. And he draws little faces in it. It's kind of like, if you guys remember from 40-Year-Old Virgin, where he starts to get his chest waxed, but it's too much pain for him to handle. And he just starts, Kelly Clarkson, right? He's yelling Kelly Clarkson. So that's how Neil just shaves his body hair in a smiley face. But other than that, I wouldn't think Neil is as an aftershave. I'm surprised Neil's even heard of aftershave, to be honest. My filler arc has left us a super chat. Austin Reeves and Rui. or 4 rings Clay plus Lonnie Skywalker? Okay, so we got nicknames in here. Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura for you, Neil, or 4 rings Clay Thompson. Keep in mind, 4 rings. This is not Clay Thompson. This is 4 rings Clay Thompson and Lonnie Skywalker. That's Lonnie Walker.
Ooh. Man, I really love Austin Reeves. Kind of feel like I got to go with the latter, though. I feel like Lonnie Walker is going to look pretty good today. Clay, of course, the best of the group. So probably have to go with the latter there.
Yeah, looking through my exposures right now, and I know a lot of it was due to blowout run, but 24 minutes for Lonnie Walker last game. He played well enough where I think maybe he earned himself at least a rotation role. Not like anything where we're going to see him play 24 minutes again, but if we get minutes in the teens from Lonnie Walker, it does make him one of the better value plays relative to what's available here. I mean, the biggest issue to me here is just, let me look. Where do I have Rui?
We've got him at 18 minutes and 14 fantasy points.
It's going to be Austin Reeves and Rui for me. It's close. You can't go wrong with either of those combinations, but I'm just kind of looking through what I have here, and it is going to be Austin Reeves and Rui on my end. Now, let me check in our Discord channel to see if we have any questions in there. If not, then Neil and I will start to look at some of the other tools on the website and see what else stands out to us. First, Miami High Life. What is your favorite Heat guard tonight? And who's your favorite player 3,500 and under for a DK GPP? Okay, so first, favorite Heat guard tonight. If you could only roster one guard from the Miami Heat, who would it be, Neil?
All right, let me look. I mean, Jimmy Butler probably, but let's see. Well, Jimmy Butler's not guard. That's right. He's forward.
Yeah.
All right. Probably Kyle Lowry at 28% is lower owned than Gabe Vincent, projects a little bit better, and he's only 100 more. So yeah, it'd probably be Kyle Lowry for me.
Yeah. What is the current? So I have a similar amount of Vincent and Lowry. They're also similarly owned. There's very little that differentiates them. I'll say Kyle Lowry, but Gabe Vincent's also a fine. Like, I'm just going to go Lowry with ownership being the tiebreaker, but I view them as being very, very similar options today. As for the other part of this, who is our favorite player 3,500 and under for a DK GPP? 3,500 and under, Neil. Who's your guy?
Good question. And this is any position?
Yep, he said for utility. So, well, actually, he didn't say for utility. He said favorite player 3,500. So didn't give a position. So
yeah, it's going to be Isaiah Hartenstein then. I mean, he's 25% projected ownership, but we've got him in for 21 minutes, 16 fantasy points. I'm getting to the most of Isaiah Hartenstein 3,500 or under, and I don't think that is going to change for me. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I'd prefer. No, I think it's just Isaiah Hartenstein for me. How about you?
Yep, Hartenstein as well. There's very few cheap guys that I really like today. And a lot of them, like before, we got the question about Troy Brown Jr. or Lonnie Walker. We got the question about Lonnie Walker. He's cheap. But there's really not that many cheap guys that I think we could feel all that great about. Here's one thing we know about Hartenstein. If Mitchell Robinson gets in foul trouble, he's stepping into minutes that way. Also, in the minutes he's on the court, he's actually a really good fantasy producer. So that is something that he gets a benefit of that other guys who are cheap that don't necessarily get the benefit. Like Lonnie Walker, you're kind of relying on him making a couple of threes. Who else? I mean, JaMychal Green, I guess he could draw another start. JaMychal Green, the last couple of games started, although they played 12 and 11 minutes. So it's not like he's playing a massive amount as a starter. Kind of by default, I land on Hartenstein there, and it seems like we're on the same page with that one. The next question comes from Einsteinium, wants to know, have I given up on Bam yet? Have I given up? Well, I could tell you what I don't get a lot of exposure to him today. Like, I wouldn't say I've given up on him, but today isn't a day that I'm getting as much exposure to him. Is Bam somebody who's a priority for you, Neil?
Not a huge priority. I mean, we loved him in part because of the price tag. I guess he's still only 7,700, which is not super expensive, but I'm currently below weight to the field. The field we have at 29%. I imagine I'm probably going to end up below weight to the field. So yeah, not a huge priority for me.
Here's the biggest issue for me when it comes to Bam. I'm playing a lot of Anthony Davis today, which I said before. And with that being the case, you could only roster one center on DraftKings. And then even for FanDuel purposes, I know AD is power forward and center eligibility, but Still, it's a little bit restrictive when he only has the center eligibility there. So I'm not really playing a ton of him today. I'm not giving up on him. I'm sure there's going to be a slate where I go back to Bam Adebayo. It is just not today. Next question that we got in Discord comes from, by the way, we just got the Knicks starting lineup. And the Knicks today are going with Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randall, and Robinson. So we've got Quentin Grimes starting for the Knicks. And let me look at some of his recent games. So Quentin Grimes, we got Grimes starting, which means Josh Hart moves back to a bench role. What do you make of this, Neil? Because Quentin Grimes was starting for the Knicks a lot during the regular season. Actually, almost the entire season he started. But the last few games, they've been starting Josh Hart. Now it's going to be Grimes starting Josh Hart coming off the bench. Is this something that we should be caring a lot about? Has Quentin Grimes become a priority play now?
I think we have to care a little bit. I mean, he started the entire, or no, he only played in 3 games in the Cleveland series. He started all 3 of them, played 27 minutes, then 22 minutes, then 13 minutes. So it's no guarantee that he plays big minutes even as a starter. That's tough. But yeah, he started most of the season. And what did he average minutes per game during the year?
So as a starter, we got 69 starts out of Quentin Grimes. He played 31 minutes and averaged 22 fantasy points in those games.
And he's 4,200 on a 2-game slate. Possibly, I mean, his ownership's certainly going to come up. We've got him at 10% ownership. I imagine it's going to be higher than that, but definitely going to be an interesting play now.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. And we only had him project for 24 minutes, so I'm assuming we did not have him projected to start. I'm going to be interested to see what our updated projection is, how many minutes we give to him, because it's hard, because it's also a little weird to me, because Josh Hart was really playing well in the playoffs. So I did not expect this really at all. And a couple of things here. So I just talked about Quentin Grimes, and I agree with you. I think he's somebody we should be considering for tournaments now. But on the flip side, how much does this hurt Josh Hart?
I think it hurts him. Like, I think that it really caps his minutes upside. I mean, it's Tibbs, I guess. If Tibbs is not happy with what he sees from Quentin Grimes, it wouldn't be that shocking to see him just be like, all right, you're not playing again, and just play Josh Hart the rest of the game. But it certainly makes it less likely. We had Josh Hart projected for 37 minutes. You can't really project him for 37 minutes coming off the bench. So definitely going to hurt him. I wasn't getting to a ton of Josh Hart anyway, but now I think definitely going to, I mean, his usage will go up off the bench. So there is that, but overall, it's definitely going to hurt Josh Hart a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, part of this obviously also is Quickly is out. So if I'm guessing what the Knicks are doing here, they're trying to get a little bit more of a potential score in the second unit. With that said, though, it's not like Quickly was playing a bunch in the playoffs. Like, Quickly was playing curiously low minutes. I'm pulling up Quickly's game logs now and just seeing how many minutes had to be replaced from Quickly. So yeah, I mean, the last couple of games, Quickly played 20 minutes and 9 minutes. It's not like you're replacing a massive amount of playing time. So Grimes will pick up a bunch of that. Josh Hart, I do have to think Josh Hart plays a little bit less, like you said, because he's coming off the bench now. It's hard to play the exact same minutes when you're moving to a reserve role. So I do think this hurts Josh Hart a little bit. And then Quentin Grimes is somebody who definitely is going to be standing out a little bit for me as a value option now. And not because I'm going to project Quentin Grimes to like destroy or anything like that, but more so because there's so few cheap guys to get to. Like, you look at some of the other players we just talked about. We got a question about Lonnie Walker. We're talking about Isaiah Hartenstein. It's not like these are guys that we're expecting to play 26 minutes or anything like that.
Right. The question is, how much does Josh Hart's ownership go down? And is that enough that it's going to be like, okay, now we had him at what, 21% ownership? We had him at 21% ownership. If the ownership does come down enough, I mean, I see people in chat. I mean, it's kind of what we said. He's going to lose minutes. He's going to gain usage coming off the bench. But generally, you're still better off generally starting, because the minutes are just going to, like, the usage isn't usually going to overcome the gap of losing 5-8 minutes, whatever it would be for Josh Hart. But if the ownership comes down enough with Josh Hart, with the possibility that, he comes off the bench and then just stays on the court, like comes in, halfway through the first quarter, it wouldn't be that crazy if Josh Hart then just played the rest of the half in both halves. So, it makes him a little bit interesting if the ownership comes down. I'm gonna have to see what the tools reflect.
Yeah, and we got an update. Oh yeah, okay. So we've got Grimes now for 27 minutes and 16.5 fantasy points. And we have Josh Hart for 34 minutes and 25.94 fantasy points. That is for DraftKings scoring. If we go over to FanDuel, obviously the minutes are going to be the same, but Josh Hart and FanDuel scoring we now have for 25.59 fantasy points and Quentin Grimes at 16.01. So here's our expectation for Quentin Grimes. Now we see this update right around 16 fantasy points. At that kind of projection, what do you make of Quentin Grimes? Now we've got a little bit more information.
Yeah, I mean, so that's still not a great projection for him. Like you're not going to want to play a player who's 4,200 with a projection of 16.5. But I mean, he averaged what you said 31 minutes per game as a starter during the regular season. It's on the low end of where I would project Quentin Grimes' minutes. I think it's fair. Like he hasn't been starting, so it's probably a reasonable assumption that they're not going to just give him that full workload that he was getting. But there's at least upside in those minutes.
Also, keep in mind that the Knicks didn't have Josh Hart for a lot of the regular season.
True. That's a good point. That is a good point.
And then towards the tail end of the year, I know there was games where Grimes played well, but there was no Brunson, there was no Randall in a lot of those games also. So I think this is pretty reasonable. I think 27 minutes, I could get on board with that. And I'm going to rerun some lineups now because this was not something that I was expecting to happen. I was not anticipating Quentin Grimes to be coming off of to be starting over Josh Hart. I just thought they would keep everything the same. And then we would see, Josh Hart just play some extra minutes and maybe Grimes extra minutes off the bench, but different look for the Knicks starting lineup. Now let's go and check out the other questions that we have from you guys in our Discord channel. And let's see, let me try to remember where we left off. All right. So we had Einstein. He asked if we had given up on Bam yet. The other question, Sick Mosh wanted to know must plays for cash. So I am going to answer that. There was no site specified. I'll do it for DraftKings and I'll do it for FanDuel. And then let me see if we have an ownership. We don't quite have an ownership update, but just making some blanket assumptions. I do think Quentin Grimes is a pretty good cash game play now. Other players you should be playing in cash today for DraftKings, Julius Randle, Draymond Green, Austin Reeves, all expect to be super popular and project well on a points per dollar basis. For FanDuel purposes, Quentin Grimes, I think, is a little bit less of a priority for cash games. I actually wouldn't call him a must play at all for cash. But I would say that for FanDuel purposes, like if you need salary savings, you could go to Quentin Grimes. Players you should definitely be playing in cash over on FanDuel. Austin Reeves and Andrew Wiggins both project for north of 60% ownership. And then other players that you should be getting to in cash games, in my opinion, for FanDuel at least, Klay Thompson and D'Angelo Russell. FanDuel and DraftKings a little bit different looking in terms of who some of the most popular players are. The next question that we got here, Ghetto Farmer Boy wanted to know, what do we think of Vanderbilt's minutes tonight? Vanderbilt's minutes. Let's see. Where do I have Vanderbilt? And by the way, Vanderbilt's minutes are very much predicated on a couple of things that make it tricky. Number one, Duke gets in foul trouble all of the time. Also, he's so on and off as a player that his minutes are often dictated by how well he's playing. And then also, a lot of the games have not been competitive in this series. Last game, the Lakers beat the Warriors by 30 points. The game before that, the Warriors beat the Lakers by 27 points. If he's playing decently and the game's competitive, he probably plays like 26 minutes, which is what he played a few games ago. I mean,
it's funny because that, like in the Memphis series, it was like no matter how well he played, he wouldn't get minutes. Like he had some games where he looked great. He was picking, getting every rebound, getting putbacks, and still they would limit him to like 20 minutes. We've only seen one game in the playoffs, that game that you just referred to, where he played 26 minutes. Outside of that, he's been in like low 20s to teens every game, even when he's playing well. So I agree with you. Like he's extremely hard to predict, but I don't even if he's playing well, he's not guaranteed to get minutes. But if we could project him for 26 minutes at 13% ownership, he would be an absolute smash play.
Yeah, it is hard to do that. But he's somebody I'm playing in tournaments.
Yep.
Do you have any tournament exposure to him?
Yeah, I'm going to be above weight to the field at 13%.
All right. So yeah, I agree with that, but this is to ask me just how many minutes is he going to play?
It's a tough
It's hard
question.
to know. I wish I had like a definitive, for myself. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I wish the Lakers should do that before every game. It's, hey guys, Jared Vanderbilt slate. He's playing 22 minutes today. That'd be really cool.
Nice.
Appreciate that. Not really how it, they're all over the place as minutes. It's hard to say. The next question we got in here is from Sean Sullivan Jr. He said, thoughts on Moody? He seems to be playing good minutes. Moody's tricky. I do not project him for a lot of minutes, and a lot of his playing time has been because of things that I just don't think are relevant for right now. Kevon Looney isn't sick anymore. I have to think these teams are going to play a competitive game, right? These last two games have been decided by 30 and 27 points. The last time we saw a close game between these two teams, which was game 1, Moody only played 6 minutes. He's something I'm not getting to. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of that, but we've only seen one competitive game between these teams in the series, and Moody played 6 minutes in that game.
I'm on the same side of it as you. I'm not getting into any Moody. Maybe we could very well be wrong, but I don't want to get there.
Einsteinium says it matters because Hart does an HB dive when Brunson kicks it to him, and Grimes can hit an open shot. Look, I'm not saying that the Knicks aren't doing this for some sort of basketball purpose, so they want extra floor spacing, but like, I don't know what the minutes look like for fantasy purposes when we're looking at the Grimes and the Hart, because I've seen some people in chat saying I'm playing Hart anyway. Other people saying they can't play Hart. My preference between the two is going to be Quentin Grimes just because he's starting, though.
Yeah, Josh Hart, I think, is a very interesting play, depending on where the ownership comes in. He could go way under-owned because he's coming off the bench and have a ton of usage. But yeah, I'm going to be playing more Grimes as well.
All right, I'm going to refresh our ownership projections, and let's see if we have a fresh run. Not quite yet. When we do figure out what the new ownership is and what some of those Knicks guys are looking like, I'll definitely bring it to you guys. While we're waiting for that, I see we have some super chats to answer, but also shout out to Prize Picks, who is sponsoring our show today. If you guys have not checked out Prize Picks yet, do it for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you sign up using the link that we have below, you're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. But believe this or not, Neil, there's even more than that. You're also going to get one free month. Oh, yeah. One free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link that we have below. And then one other thing that I want to mention as well is that you guys might be like myself in a state like New Jersey that doesn't have access to Prize Picks. We also have our BetMGM deal where if you're in a state that has legalized sports betting, you can't play on Prize Picks, Underdog, those kind of sites. You could also sign up BetMGM with the link we have below, and that is also going to get you one free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. But let's look at Pick'em Pro and just highlight some of the players that are projecting the best for us on Prize Picks today.
So I already put out a card on Twitter, by the way. If you some of the bets will surely be still available, the ones that I put out on Twitter a couple hours ago. So
go check
those out as well.
Neil on Twitter posting some Prize Pick stuff, and yeah, looking at our projections right now. And if you want access to our Pick'em Pro tool and you sign up for the first time, the link below, you get access to it for as low as less than $5. Here are our top 2 projected Prize Picks plays of the day. Both of them projected to win 60% of the time. One is Obi Toppin for under 6 points, and the other one is Austin Reeves for over 3.5 assists. So, by the way, Austin Reeves over 3.5 assists. I feel like that same number is projected well for us on Prize Picks.
It has
every single Lakers slate for a month or something like that, and it actually has won quite a bit. But
not recently. Not recently. It's been getting. I posted the same. I think it was actually 4 was the line last week or whatever the last game was, and I posted a card that had it on it, and somebody asked, "Why do people chase this so much?" And it's like, I was looking at so I responded. I was like, well, the average is 4.2 assists per 36 minutes. Now he's playing like 40 minutes a game, and he's in a fast-paced matchup. And then, of course, it's a complete blowout, and he only had 2 assists. And it hasn't been hitting recently, but all of the metrics that I look at seem like it should hit at 3.5, especially. It's a good bet.
Yeah, and what do we have him for 4.9, and it's also like it's one that you and I have talked about a few times now over the course of the last few weeks. And yeah, this is a guy, by the way, my throat could not be more dry right now, but Austin Reeves is averaging, since moving into the starting lineup, well over these numbers. And now he's playing a ton of minutes. So it just makes sense to take the over there on Austin Reeves. Let's get back to your guys' super chats. And the next one that we have here is from 3 Windy 1 City 2, which I now know is the area code from Chicago. That's what the 312 is. Any love for Caleb Martin tonight? Is he somebody you're getting to, Neil?
Good question. I don't think, like, I'm not going out of my way to get Caleb Martin, but let's see. I do not have any Caleb Martin. We've got him in for 28 minutes. he looks like a fine play. 15% ownership seems about right. He's 4,500. Just not the best fantasy point per minute guy. 28 minutes. He's in play, but I'm only playing 20 lineups tonight, so I don't have any Caleb Martin, but I think he's a fine play at 15% ownership.
I'm like exactly even with the field on him. So he's a neutral play to me, right? He's one of those guys who is priced at what, $4,500. He's probably going to play mid to low 20s minutes. He's in there, but not really any kind of priority. Actually, one thing, I haven't updated my lineups for the Quentin Grimes news yet. I tend to think that Quentin Grimes becoming viable now is probably going to lower my ownership to Caleb Martin. But
I think that's why I didn't get any, because I really like both Vando and Quentin Grimes. And they're kind of in the same price range, so I'm just getting them instead.
Yeah, let me run my basketball lineups again, and then I will know what it is that actually I'm getting to now for these updates. But I need to get that ownership update first on Quentin Grimes. Let's see. Yeah, nothing quite yet. So we shall see. We shall see. All right. In the meantime, more super chats from you guys. The next one is coming from Brandon Wagner. Brandon Wagner wants to know, maybe it's Wagner, right? This is the NBA states, everybody. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Brandon Wagner, but Brandon, if you don't mind, I might go with Wagner now anyway. Brandon wants to know Lowry, Vincent, and Reeves, or Vincent, Strus, and Reeves. Okay, so this is basically a Lowry versus Strus, right? Because it's Vincent, Strus, Reeves, Lowry, Vincent, Reeves. They're both on the same team. So he's basically asking us Lowry versus Strus. Do you have a preference between them?
I'm going Lowry between those two.
That is going to be Lowry for me as well. I know that Strus has had a couple of super hot shooting games, but Lowry is going to be the guy for me there. Let's see. Next super chat. Bunch of them coming in. The next question is from Nathan Futi. He wants to know, who's a better DK captain, Hart or Butler? Butler. Easy.
I think before I do a show where I've yet to be on a Showdown show, I think I'm going to have to research what actually wins in Showdown, because I'm like, that's such a hard answer, because it's obviously you get to completely different constructions there. Jimmy Butler obviously strikes me as the better play because he's just going to project so much better, but I feel like I've got to do some Showdown research before doing one of those shows.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too, though, is now that Hart is coming off the bench, he's just not a very good points per dollar play.
Yeah, true.
So Jimmy Butler. James Magruder wants to know Hart and Walker or Strus and Love. Oh boy. Hart and Walker or Strus and Love. I'm going to go with Strus and Love. Those are, if I'm being honest, two pretty rough combinations, though.
I was going to go Hart and Walker. I think that I prefer Hart and Walker there. I mean, Lonnie Walker, like, he played 24 minutes last time out. We've only got Lonnie Walker in for 18 minutes and 12 fantasy points, and I'm still getting to some. And I do think Hart is sort of interesting. So I think I'm taking the other side of that one.
Yeah, and are you going to be playing much of Josh Hart now?
I'm going to play a little bit of Josh Hart. Like, I guess I think it's hard to project what the field is going to do with Josh Hart. In my latest run, I have 20%, which I think is going to be above weight to the field. Like, I'm not jamming him in, but I think he's a fine play.
Yeah, let me
Good contrarian play, potentially.
Yeah, so I just ran lineups, and I'm just kind of looking through to see. I barely got to any of Josh Hart now that I just reran lineups. It's going to be hard for me to any 2v2 or like 1v1 where one of the sides is Josh Hart. It's probably not going to be the Josh Hart side for me. Now, if our ownership updates and he's projected for like 10% ownership, then I'd feel differently. But he's still projected to be relatively popular. Well, at least he was projected to be relatively popular.
Yeah, I just don't know if that is going to be changing. Like, if that's something that's just kind of lagging a little bit.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. So anyway, for me, the answer is going to be the Strus and Love side, and then also wants to know top plays at each position. Yeah, so let's go and do that. Neil, why don't you do it for DraftKings, and I will do it for FanDuel, and we'll just go top plays at each position. But DraftKings for yourself, Neil. Who's the number one point guard?
The number one that I'm getting to is Austin Reeves.
For me at point guard on FanDuel, it is Kyle Lowry, and hard to feel totally confident in that because I know he only played 26 minutes last game, but when he's played well, he's played bigger minutes. And he's also relatively cheap at FanDuel point guard, and he's not crazy popular. So I'm going to go with Kyle Lowry, shooting guard on DraftKings. Who are you getting the most exposure to?
Klay Thompson.
For me on FanDuel, it is Austin Reeves with shooting guard eligibility. His price is dipped to 5,300. Small forward for you on DraftKings?
LeBron.
For me, it is Andrew Wiggins. Well, it would be Austin Reeves, but I already said him at shooting guard. So Andrew Wiggins, but would have been Austin Reeves if I hadn't already said him, but just want to make sure I had another name in there. Power forward, who do you get to the most to on DK?
Julius Randle.
So power forward, it would have been Wiggins, but I already said him at small forward. So LeBron James. I guess I could have just changed him however I want, but small forward and power forward, LeBron James and Andrew Wiggins. And then center for you on DraftKings.
Currently it's Julius Randle, and then it's going back and forth right now between Kevon Looney and Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, so this is going to be a little tricky to answer, I feel like, for FanDuel purposes, because so many players have power forward and center eligibility. So, like, if it's just centers, the answer would be Bam Adebayo, but I think Bam Adebayo is over-owned on FanDuel. We have him project for nearly 50% ownership. I think that is aggressively high for Bam Adebayo. We've got him project for 44% ownership. That's more of him that I want to play. But the other players that I'm looking at here at the center spot, it's like Anthony Davis, but that's a lot of it because he's power forward eligibility. Draymond Green, same with Kevon Looney. So I'll just say Anthony Davis here because I think Bam Adebayo is a little bit overowned, but he does also have power forward eligibility. The next question here is from Corey Bomber. Last man in, Looney, Lowry, Poole, or Robinson for DraftKings. So I'll read these names off again. Looney, Lowry, Poole, or Mitchell Robinson on DraftKings.
Ooh, that's really tough. Probably comes down to the center options for me. I don't think it would be Kyle Lowry. I kind of want to know if Kevon Looney is starting. We just got the starting lineup.
Yep. So this is going to change a lot. Gary Payton starting today.
Oh man, that changes everything.
Starting lineup for the Golden State Warriors today per Shams. Curry, Payton, Thompson, Wiggins, Draymond Green.
That's fun. I love changes.
So, all right. Just give me all of the Gary Payton now.
All right. So ignore everything we've said up until this point. No, that's not entirely true. But yeah, Payton becomes very interesting to me. He's probably going to be my favorite of the, I like Payton better than I like Grimes.
Yes, for sure. And the other thing too is, let's see, because I haven't thought about Gary Payton very much today. What is his price point? Yeah, Payton's $3,200. Yes, please. So I love Gary Payton. I love getting to Gary Payton now.
0.8 fantasy points per minute during the regular season. Obviously, it's going to be lower as a starter, but great matchup with the Lakers. Yeah, Gary Payton becomes really interesting now. I would say he's probably a cash game lock at this point.
Yes. How much of them are you going to play in tournaments? Because for me, the answer right now is just all of them.
I think I might lock. Yeah, I think I might have all of the Gary Paytons. I mean, it could fail. He's starting alongside these Golden State Warriors starters. Like there are definitely paths for it to fail, but I think that he's going to go under-owned relative to where he should be. Maybe not because it's a 2-game slate. Like people who are playing NBA DFS right now are sickos and like are going to make the necessary adjustments. So he might not go super under-owned, but.
So one thing I'll add to that though, JaMychal Green the other day moved in this starting lineup and almost nobody played him. So I'm not sure that's the case because it's the same team, by the way, also. So, and not only that, but for a showdown slate the other day where JaMychal Green was 1,600 in showdown or something like that, and he was starting, and even there, he was like relatively modestly owned. So I don't know the people. I don't really know that he's going to be all that popular.
Makes him a great, I mean, I think he's both a great cash game play and a great GPP play. With that in mind.
All right. Yeah, I'm getting to him in like all my lineups now. And how does that change? So here's a couple changes also. Not only am I getting to a bunch of Gary Payton, this has greatly changed the amount of pay-up options I'm getting to.
Yeah. It makes it a lot easier to get to your Anthony Davis, LeBron, etc.
Yep. Because we just didn't really have a guy before for value that I think it was easy to feel all that good about. And, you know, who knows? Gary Payton, we didn't see JaMychal Green play a massive amount of minutes when he was starting.
Right.
But this is the kind of slate where if you were to only get 18 minutes, even out of Gary Payton, if you get 14 or 15 fantasy points, you wouldn't hate that outcome on the slate, would you?
No, not at all. That probably plays.
All right, so let's go and update this now. And I mean, I'm just going to make this simple, I'm just going to jam Gary Payton, right? That no thought to it. And then I don't have to think.
Greg, I put him in for
much.
20 minutes. So just like leaving our fantasy points per minute, which is 0.79, I put Gary Payton in for 20 minutes, which gives him a projection of 15.86. And I got him in 19 of my 20 lineups.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Just
Makes
like
sense.
that's not even a great projection or anything. It's just like what he does for the rest of your lineup is helpful.
Updated. All right. Yeah, I just pressed the lock button on Gary Payton rerun lineups. So we shall see how that ends up working out. I'm a big Gary Payton fan. I have been speculating for a while. Unfortunately, it doesn't do me any good now because everybody knows he's starting. But I feel like every single Warrior slate for the last week and a half, I've been saying at some point Gary Payton is going to be ahead of Jordan Poole in the rotation. And here it is. It's finally happened.
Yep.
Now we've got some more, not exactly, but eventually eventually came through. By the way, Corey Bomber, because I didn't give an answer for that question. It was Looney, Lowry, Poole, Robinson. I'm going to say Robinson now. Malcolm Revamp wants to know, who are your core must-haves for DK and FanDuel? Neil, who would you say are the must plays for DraftKings, the few players you get the most exposure to? And I'll do it for FanDuel.
Yeah, so it would be Gary Payton for me.
Yep.
I mean, Julius Randle, I'm getting to a ton of, even after reducing his projection. Austin Reeves is pretty close to him. I mean, I don't know that I call him a must-have. I guess I'm going overboard with what we're calling must-haves here. But I would say at this point, I would play Gary Payton in a majority of my lineups, probably Julius Randle in a majority of my lineups. For me, it's probably Austin Reeves, but I don't know if there's anybody else I could call a must-have here.
Yeah, and let's see if we have some. Oh, by the way, we do have the. It's always fun. So we have the update for the Knicks here, and it ends up so like we have Quentin Grimes at 17.5% projected ownership, Josh Hart at 17.6, and now that's all going to end up changing again because Gary Payton's now starting for the Warriors, and that throws everything into flux. But if you guys want access to all of the tools, data, and information we have at Stochastic.com, sign up for a package using the promo code that we have made bundle. And by the way, if you click on the link that we have below in the description box, the promo code is already loaded in there. But you're going to get tools for every single DFS sport, and you are going to get it for cheap because that code that we have below is going to get you projections for every single sport out there for 3 days for just $5. And you could win big money like Alexis Sarah, who messaged us on, well, actually, Alexis didn't message me on Twitter, unfortunately. Messaged Laufey and Josh and said that they're always making Alexis laugh in the morning show. Finally got a first place. Pretty good ROI here. Alexis, $2.72 in buy-in to get back $1,700.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's
pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. So go check out all of the tools that we have at Stochastic.com. And like I said, that link below, you're going to get access for 3 days, just $5. Check out all the stuff that we have behind the paywall. Now, other super chats and a bunch of them in here. So, oh, by the way, Malcolm Revamp, he asked for DK. I'll do it for FanDuel now. And for me, I'm going to say Gary Payton, and then I'm going to say Austin Reeves, Andrew Wiggins, and because of positionality, I'll say LeBron on FanDuel. Ace of Spade, DK tier 5. Now that Grimes is starting. Good point. Let me pull this up. Tier 5. I'd still go Kevin Love over Quentin Grimes. I say Quentin Grimes second, but I'd still prefer Kevin Love to Quentin Grimes. Next question is from Hannah Banana. DK tiers. Another DK tiers question. Tier 1 for me, Anthony Davis. Tier 2, Julius Randle. Tier 3, Klay Thompson. Tier 4, Austin Reeves. Tier 5, Kevin Love. I said Quentin Grimes would be second for me in Tier 5 now. And then Tier 6, Isaiah Hartenstein. My Phil Arc wants to know Strus or Love for tournaments on DK. For me, let's see, now that everything's updated, that is Kevin Love for me.
Same.
Race Fan 22. DK, $4,200 or under at the utility spot. He already has Grimes. 4,200 or under, already has Grimes. Like, I mean, I would say Gary Payton, but I wouldn't leave that much salary on the table. Like, I'm not going to tell you leave $1,300 in salary on the table. Oh no, 1,000. 4,200.
Probably Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder.
4,200. Actually, I prefer Hartenstein to Schroeder.
Interesting. I mean, we have Schroeder projected 2.5 fantasy points better than Hartenstein, but yeah, I think that's I mean, I like Hartenstein quite a bit too.
I just like I like the upside of Hartenstein. Right.
Yeah.
If he ends up playing minutes somewhat comparable than a Schroeder, I would expect Hartenstein to. Yeah, either of those are good. Let me think. Yeah, I'm gonna say I have a lot more exposure to Hartenstein, so that's gonna be my answer. Man EC, Lock Stochastic 100. Thanks for your efforts, gentlemen. Thank you, Manny. We appreciate the super chat. No question there. Just saying he appreciates us. We appreciate you. Thanks for the super chat. If anybody else wants to support us, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. DM Brian 007, Peyton 100%. He is for me. I'm playing him in all my lineups.
I have him in 90%. But the last crunch I ran before this one, I had 100%. It's going to be somewhere between 90 and 100 for me.
James Magruder, Barrett or Wiggins. This ish gives me anxiety. Barrett or Wiggins, that's Wiggins for me.
Yeah, I think Wiggins projects better. We've got Wiggins 3 fantasy points better than Barrett.
Yeah, that's the way I'm going as well. Julie Tan. Julie wants to know Randall and Reeves or Hartenstein and Curry. That is Randall and Reeves for me.
Me too.
James Magruder, highest projected / best $5,100 player for DK utility. 5,100. That is Jordan Poole for me.
5,100. It'd be Mitchell Robinson for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jordan Poole for that spot. The other thing too is with Gary Payton starting, I do wonder if this means we're just gonna see more small ball from the Warriors today.
We could.
I'm gonna go Jordan Poole there.
Are you gonna play any Kevon Looney?
No.
Would you if you're a 150 maxing?
I would not a significant amount.
So
last game, it seemed like he was not dealing with any sort of illness issues, and he only played 16 minutes. They're playing.
That was also a blowout. Like, do you think he would have played more?
A little bit, maybe. It just seems like they're getting away from him and playing smaller lineups.
Yeah. He's
not starting again today. I don't know. It's hard for me to expect big minutes from Looney.
Yeah, I'm not expecting big. I feel like there's a chance that he plays more minutes off the bench than we're expecting, but I'm not really expecting it either. Not going to play. I think I have him currently in 1 of 20 lineups.
Next question that we have here is from Tip Tonius. Tip Tonius wants to know Strus, Clay, Lowry, or D'Angelo, Hart, Payton on FanDuel. So you're putting me in a tough spot here because Gary Payton's my favorite play on the slate. Josh Hart is maybe my least favorite play on the slate right now. Strus, I'll just go with I'll say Russell, Hart, and Payton though. That's what I'm going to go with.
Strus, Clay, Lowry, or D'Angelo, Hart, and Payton. Yeah, it's going to be the D'Angelo, Hart, and Payton for me.
Yeah. Malcolm Revamp, Bam, or AD on FanDuel? AD.
Yep.
Jorge Jacomi, how are you guys looking at Grimes today? I was going to play not a ton of Grimes, but he was going to be somebody that I probably got to like 15 to 20% of. And then after we got the news that Gary Payton's starting, and now I'm just playing a bunch of Payton. By the way, good thing we got this news now because it would have been really hard to swap onto Payton had this news come out later. I have Grimes in less than 10% of lineups now.
I've got him in 4 out of 20, so 20%.
Yeah. Oh, so you're going to be overweight to him then, I assume.
I am. I mean, he is still starting. Like, There's no reason you can't play both Grimes and Payton.
No, I mean, you could play lineups with both of them. It just, I found another source of salary savings I like better.
Yeah.
It's not like Grimes is somebody who's like, I feel like I must play.
Right.
All right. That catches us up on all the super chats. I'm just going to make sure there was none that came in just a minute ago there, just from Jorge. So we'll go into Discord now to answer your guys' questions, and that is going to close out the show. This hour went extremely fast. And one more time, if you guys didn't do it yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and closing us out here with our Discord questions. And we have one final question here from Basti G. Wants to know priority pay up for DK GPPs and then contrarian value options. My priority pay up is still Anthony Davis. Is that for you as well?
Yep.
And then he wants to know contrarian value options. Honestly, Gary Payton might end up being somewhat contrarian.
It's just so hard to know at this point, just because we got the news before lock. If he is, he's going to be fantastic contrarian option. Did you say a value or just contrarian in general?
Yeah, contrarian value.
Contrarian value. Let's see.
So what's kind of hard about this too is if you look at the value plays, anybody who's viable is kind of projected for a good amount of ownership. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I think that Gary Payton's going to go under owned.
I think there's a good chance that that's true. If you don't think that, I also think Vanderbilt, Quentin Grimes, we have both projected for like mid-teens in ownership. And I think they're both good plays at that level of ownership.
All right. And that is going to answer all our questions and bring us to lock. So if you guys could be so kind, I haven't done it yet. I know I asked just a second ago, but it's kind of like tradition to say it at the end of the show. You never know if somebody was tuning out until the end here. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enjoy the games tonight, guys. We got a couple of good ones and season really starting to wrap down. We do not have very many slates left that are going to be multiple games. So enjoy it today. I hope we win a bunch of money. I hope somebody wins a GPP today. Tomorrow night, I'll be back here to do the show. Guys, good luck tonight, and I will see you tomorrow.